I'm here with my friend Elijah. First things first, are you having a good time, my brother?
I'm having a fantastic time. Libertarians are the best people. Surround yourself with them. You'll have a good time.
That's what Trump said. He said these are very good people, very reasonable.
We all have every single candidate is like a really good libertarian. So I don't think anybody's going to be too upset at who wins. And
I got a couple that I would rage quit over.
oh, really? Who?
I don't know if I should cover it. Chase.
So here's the thing. Chase is a good libertarian philosophically. I've had some issues with how he talks about certain people. And so for me, he's like, I would never vote for him. So we don't have to air this. A person that's going to be so divisive and use such divisive language probably isn't the best presidential nominee. He talks very eloquently about libertarian principles. I do believe he's a principled libertarian. I wouldn't be so upset if he won the nomination, but he's the only person on stage I wouldn't vote for.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Getting Trump here, getting RFK here, I think that the libertarians that have a problem with these things just haven't done the work. And I don't mean that to be an accusation, but if you talk to real Americans during election season, 99%, not 99, 95% don't even know what a libertarian is. Yeah. And so just getting the word libertarian in their head is worth it. We get media attention for being here. It's a win-lose situation, and we're the winners.
You may even get tired of winning.
Have some perspective. If you don't like somebody, don't spend time with them. Just peace out, right? It's fine. Nobody's forcing you to spend time with these people. But to put your time and energy into tearing them down is not worth it. Tear down Biden, tear down Trump, tear down the 535 enemies of the state we have here in Washington, D.C. Don't spend time tearing down an accountant from Wisconsin who has a slightly different idea on the border than you.
I feel called out. I'm here with my friend, Ben Heckman, who's from, where are you from, dude?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Like Ron Paul and like wreck the motherfucking regime. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
For libertarians, dude. It's the best.
Why is that? Black and yellow?
Yeah, that's a big reason. I like wear like anarcho-capitalist merchandise, and everyone will think I'm like a Steelers fan. Yeah. So it's a good way to like kind of play it off because I don't really watch sports. So.
Samesies, bro. But you could have guessed that by the physique. Yeah. You know what I mean? Any chance or a possibility of you supporting an independent RFK ticket, or maybe if Trump picks a real great VP, is that possible?
No. Trump picks Rand Paul as his VP, I would be a little bit swayed. Like, I would be a little persuaded.
Rand Paul's barely got 3%. What's he doing on the stage?
Like, let's build a new FBI head.
Hi.
Oh, sorry, guys.
I'm sorry. We'll get to you later, though. I know who you are. Okay. Very, very talented.
I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings on Trump. I think he was low-key, like, more anti-war than he was allowed to be. But I don't think he's... I think he's in it more so for himself than anybody else. I think he is a con artist, a really fucking good con artist. I think it's cool that he's here to speak, or coming here to speak later. I'm like very skeptical as to like why he wants to do that.
He wants our 1, 2, 3 beautiful percentage points. Ben?
Benjamin Schaefer.
I'm Dave. Good to meet you, Ben.
Pleasure. All right, so we had this project out there in Utah called the Goldback. Legal tender, gold currency, laminated gold. And the funnest thing is because it's gold, it has real value, right? This is a cash solution. But unfortunately, when was the last time you used cash?
Today.
Right.
I'm a bad libertarian, bro. I barely any Bitcoin.
Barely any Bitcoin. Well, see, here's the problem. Bitcoin's too unstable to use, right? So what we need to do is get gold and Bitcoin to have a baby. Almost all of our problems have a root cause, a root source. And the problem there is the bad motivations. You know what I mean? We're funding the military-industrial complex. We're funding wars overseas. How are we doing that? We're doing that through inflation. If we got back to the gold standard, then we could fix that. The problem is there's no magic golden switch in the Federal Reserve you can just flip, and then bam, we're back in the gold standard. The only way to bring accountability to our system is to make a better system.
Do you worry that the charter of the Secret Service, right after protecting the president, is to protect the monetary system? They might be offended by that?
Actually, to some extent, I'm not that worried because we're using a law that was passed by Ron Paul. Ron Paul brought back the actual gold standard to this country already. It's called the gold dollar system. And there's already a 1 ounce gold eagle coin that says $50 on it. A 10th ounce says $5 on it. Those dollars are not the same as paper dollars, but they are gold dollars.
This is what I was talking about earlier before the camera started, and I was saying, give me some good shit. That's some good shit right there, bro. I didn't know that.
The Libertarian Party's been saying for decades, we need to get back to the gold standard, we need to end all of this monetary manipulation, but there's just no magic switch. Now we have a plan.
I like real world solutions, man.
Yeah.
Glad to meet you. Anything else you want to tell these guys?
You don't need permission. Just do it. Just live freedom. That's what it means to be a libertarian, right? So don't ask permission. We're not. We're just going to use better money.
Back at the 2024 Libertarian Party National Convention in the Den of Vipers, Washington, D.C. Everybody is on a lunch break except me and my pal Dylan. How's your day going, my bro?
It's going super good, man. I am really enjoying being here, not as a delegate this year. Last convention I was here, and doing the delegate thing kind of put me into too much of the inter-party stress, so I'm enjoying just watching the chaos. I got a couple of people up on the stage for president that I'm a big fan of, so it's nice not to have to pick and choose between them. There was a bunch of bullshit that happened yesterday. I live streamed that and then had the schadenfreude of watching everything burn down, so that was super cool. But no, man, I mean, I'm enjoying it. You know, Amy and I, we're just happy to be here and see all of our friends, and that's the only, I mean, that's where it is for me right now. I'm going to come here, I'm going to be buddies with everybody and not get involved in the bullshit.
Perhaps the real revolution was the social club we made along the way.
Regardless of what happens here today or what happened yesterday or how any votes go, I think legitimately one of the major successes of the Mises Caucus has not been in its ability to take over anything so much as it has been in its ability to form connections between people that were not there before. I mean, you and I would have never met. Would have never met in our entire life had it not been for Michael Hayes and the board of the Mises Caucus, had it not been for my wife and the work that she did for them. And my buddy Elijah standing here too, I would have never met him had it not been for this. And I'm super grateful for that. And I know that for all of those connections that I have made thanks to this, that bridge far outside of the caucus and even outside of the Libertarian Party, every other person that's here in this room that's been a part of that movement has had the same experience. And they get to take that and the networking and the camaraderie, and they can spread that. And that probably does more good for the libertarian philosophy or the concept of spreading liberty into your local community than any inter-party movement ever could.
When you said that you weren't participating in the delegate in the process, instantly I got a little bit envious, because that part can be awfully stressful. My anxiety levels are already up here. It literally is hard for me to take. We were at the Maryland convention a couple weeks ago. You kind of gave those guys a legitimate hard time about running for federal office.
Libertarians have no business running for anything except local races. If you do it, you are a hindrance to the cause. You have no business going for anything above that. Anybody that thinks they should be doing it, you're wrong. If you want to make a change, make a change, but don't run vanity projects.
Real talk. Give it up for definitely not a Fed Dylan.
You said that to their face, not on Twitter, which is the way to do it.
Well, I talk too much shit on Twitter, so every once in a while I got to take a break and say things in the real world. Otherwise, everybody's going to think I'm a bitch. No, it is for real, and maybe I was a little harsh for some of those guys. There will be times when there is a particularly inspirational person who maybe can do some good in their state as a spokesperson. That's rare, though. That's incredibly rare. And for all of the libertarian candidates that have not run for local office, who are putting themselves on the board for federal office or state office right now, rethink that. And maybe before you decide to jump to 100 miles an hour for your very first campaign, look around, find a sheriff's race, a county council, a school board race, a mayoral campaign, and take part in that, because it's going to let you learn the ropes about what it is like to actually participate in a campaign and get a vibe for how much work there really is involved in it before you're up there front and center as the face of the party for everybody. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be ready for that. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a thing for you, but you'll learn what it is that you're good at. And I have a feeling the vast majority of people, when they run that first campaign that's for federal office, they're going to get in there and just be overwhelmed at the resistance. There's not too many libertarians out there with the backbone of support and the social network that is necessary to actually conduct a successful federal or state level campaign. So I do think people should reconsider it, really run for local office. That's where the difference is. We've got Aaron Lamb, who's a mayor here. He's pushing in his First off, Aaron is an incredible guy. I'm so proud of him, what he has done in his community.
I just met him today. He's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's a Mises Caucus mayor in Colorado, right? Yeah, in Colorado. He's doing excellent work there in his local community. He is now, as mayor, able to slowly and incrementally push the structure of his local government more and more libertarian, fill in school boards. And oh my God, I can't begin to say how important school boards are. And you're going to have a libertarian mayor, and he will slowly change the structure of the school board to libertarians, and then that's when you really start to see some major change. That guy has probably done more good as a mayor than almost every state or federal level libertarian, with maybe 5 exceptions, that have ever existed in this party. So really rethink it, and it's because small politics is small, right? I mean, it's small. So you get in there, you win your race, or maybe you just make a name for yourself. And you can actually start to realize some of these things that we all like to talk about on Twitter. Local office is where it's at. That's a thing that Michael Heiss has had absolutely right every time. The local strategy of the Mises Caucus is probably one of the smartest things that I have ever seen brought into the Libertarian Party, and it's taken us out of a paper candidacy structured party and into something that can maybe do some real good.
What should be our main function as a political party right now?
Yeah, votes don't matter. So if you're chasing votes, you're wrong. The presidential candidate exists to do one thing for libertarians. I don't really care about your ballot access either. It's to message. And you need to pick whoever it is that's going to be the best representative of libertarian concepts that can be made understandable by the masses, not some milquetoast, weird-looking dude that can wear a suit jacket but is scared to say the real shit. We've had maybe only that in the past, with a very small number of exceptions. Spin is the only thing that exists. I know libertarians like to think that principles are the thing that really matters, and you should be principled in your personal life and how you deal with your children and your wife. But when it comes to politics, realize that everybody else out there is cheating, and you're not going to win. But what you can do is you can steal some of their platform and use that to speak on behalf of the things that you believe in. And your presidential candidate should do that same thing. You've got 2 great guys up there, Josh and Rechtenwald. I love both of them. I think they're great guys, great candidates.
Both unvaxxed?
Both. Well, that's the most critical thing. If you're vaxxed, you're wrong. And also, you might be dead soon, so that's not who you want for president.
And I'm here with my new friend, Holden Collada, who's been, I see him all over Twitter, pumping RFK Jr. and trying to convince libertarians to kind of come your way on this. So you look like a young dude. Are you like, this is your first time voting?
No, I voted in 2020. That was the first time. I'm 22.
Okay. Who did you vote for in 2020?
I voted for Joe Biden, and I...
You think I didn't know that, Holden? So cool. You voted for him, learned some lessons, and you got your guy this time. Why is he the guy?
I think, whatever you want to call it, the corporate capture, the deep state, unelected bureaucracy, that is the number one issue in my view right now. Because, I think libertarians would all agree with this, that the people we elect to government are not actually making decisions, then what do we have? What are we doing here? And so I think Bobby Kennedy has the clearest path to be able to do that and actually, root out some of the corruption in these agencies, the messed up incentives, some of the individuals too. I mean, I think for me, what sets Bobby Kennedy apart is that he's been doing this for 40 years, suing these agencies, suing federal agencies and these big corporations. So
Monsanto, this is good work.
Yeah. So that's, it's not like Trump or Biden saying, I'm going to do this, but having no record to prove it. It's, this is a guy who's been doing this for 40 years, and so I have every reason to believe he'll keep doing that in the White House.
Do you think it would be advantageous or better if he were to get the Libertarian nomination, or run as an independent, or doesn't even matter to you?
I don't have particularly strong feelings about it. I think it would have been beneficial to try and forge that independent libertarian coalition, because I think obviously libertarians seem to be on the rise. Libertarianism seems to be getting more and more popular since COVID particularly. So I think it would have been a beneficial coalition to do that. I think this is the best opportunity to advance liberty this year, if that's the goal. But I didn't have particularly strong feelings about it. I'm not a libertarian myself, so I'm not here to tell libertarians who to vote for or anything. But yeah,
that's pretty courteous of you, man. We don't talk enough about how this is a once in a generation independent run, much like Ross Perot's, and we're going to have low turnout this year because the third box will probably be Bobby Kennedy, and he will probably get upwards of 8 or 10% of the electorate, and the Libertarian Party will suffer for that. The people who mostly vote for us are not voting for us because of our philosophy or our candidates, but it's because we're the third box, and we're a protest vote. So I think that your candidate is going to be obviously the biggest protest vote this year. Just the simplicity of a referendum on COVID is almost important enough. And I like that you said he's not a libertarian. But yeah, nobody's perfect.
That's a great point that you just made. If we don't have COVID accountability on the ballot this year, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right?
The Libertarian flubbed that ball in 2020.
I have to say I'm glad to see that the Libertarian Party shifted from that. Yeah, yeah, very much.
So what keeps you from being a Libertarian?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's a few different things. Number one,
The racism.
I don't think the LP New Hampshire's messaging is particularly helpful.
Sexism and racism and homophobia.
I don't think it's very helpful to advancing liberty. And so I don't want any affiliation with that. But more broadly, I think, I'm just not a fan of political parties. I see a lot of, in the Libertarian Party, for example, with the presidential nomination, I think you see something similar to the Democrats and Republicans, where what you have to do to win a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian primary is very different from what's going to win a general election. And so it's really difficult to work within that system to get advance liberty.
He's not the worst candidate that it's in this building right now. So I appreciate your work and good luck to you, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm hanging out with my friend Dean. Sean. What's your last name?
Deminsky.
Deminsky,
Yeah,
not
you combine the two.
All right, we met yesterday, but we're friends, okay?
So what do you think's been going on? What was your takeaway from it all?
Do you want to hold this?
Yes.
Well, I've told everybody I'm not a Fed, and 17 people have been like, that's exactly what a fucking Fed would say. And nice haircut, Fed.
The next generation, what are they looking for? You see things like the Ron Paul movement, huge in 08, huge in 012, and then all those people went to the Republican Party.
Were you, Ron Paul did it for you in either 08 or 12?
Oh, yeah.
Which one was it?
It was right after 08's when I first heard about him, but I was still that...
Same.
Still that, I don't want to say neocon, but still that Republican establishment.
I was
guy.
lefty. See, that's the magic of Ron Paul, though.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I remember I shouldn't say too much, but, I remember when I voted McCain, I felt...
Cut. Stop with your boy Dave versus Goliath back at the LNC 2024 convention with my friend Hannah. Hannah, great to see you today. How you feeling?
I'm feeling excellent. I'm super pumped to be here.
This is the first time that we've officially met.
Yep.
But you've been on my podcast one or two times, and I see you're very vocal. You have strong opinions, and I certainly appreciate that. And I think that will be a welcome force on the board. Are you ready to crush your opponents?
Yes, I've already crushed them in that debate. You could see their souls leaving their bodies.
Time tested in Colorado. You've done some great things there. Namely, kind of what we're doing here on the national scale, kind of forcing our power onto the major powers. You took the lead on that in Colorado by forcing the GOP to kind of meet your demands. In essence, if you want us to back up, then you better put up some Massey-style Republicans, or else we're going to fucking come get you. It's pretty awesome.
Yep, exactly. And I honestly think that if Colorado hadn't been the forerunner on this whole strategy, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today. So Colorado coming in, swinging in, saying, kiss the sword, we own the swing vote. You're scared of the word spoiler. I am not scared of the word spoiler.
Me either.
And if something makes somebody feel fearful, I'm going to lean into that as much as I can, especially on the political stage. So I think it's just brilliant that we've been able to bring something like that out-of-the-box thinking that Angela did by asking Trump, asking Biden, asking all these people to show up. And then other people are like, we went on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Here we see RFK, who initially snubbed us, is like, oh, wait, what about me? We had Thomas Massey here. So I'm just super excited that my strategy has translated and become infectious within this party.
You're a force to be reckoned with. I appreciate your time, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Good luck. What's up? It's your boy Dave versus Goliath back at the Libertarian Party National Convention of 2024, and I'm hanging out with the great Maj Toure. Maj, how's your day going, bro?
It's wonderful. I would not dare complain. I have breath in my lungs. I have these amazing shades on. I'm at the Mises Caucus booth. Angela McArdle reigns supreme, Madam Chair. And life is good.
Life is good, man. I don't want to. This is where I want to start off. You could be a lot of places. You have been a lot of places. CPAC. You've been on a lot of the big shows. You sat down with Candace Owens, like the great Dave Smith. You guys have, hit some plateaus that a lot of people here haven't. Why do you keep hanging out with libertarians?
Libertarians are smart, and we have the answers. Libertarians need some tough love. Libertarians need some of the things that I bring to the table as like certain levels of grit. I remember years ago at the Reno Reset, the speech that I gave, and I'm literally watching over the last few years these things come into fruition. And so when you're thinking about the team winning, you have to help the team or your teammates see the floor the way that you see the floor. My skill set is that, and via translation. And so knowing that libertarians are very smart, but they have to add some more pieces to the puzzle to their game, I just come and try to be that, whether that's me just manning a table, because everybody's coming to me like, yo, Maj, why are you manning this table at the Mises table? And I'm like, well, there was nobody here, nobody asked me to. And I'm like, yo, we could hand out all of this shit and nobody will have to carry as many boxes back and the pack up. But more importantly, most of the people that are here that's going to float through will get exposed to liberty values. You have to think like a point guard. I think like a point guard. So if I'm on, maybe Dave Smith will get me on Joe Rogan or something, or whatever platform I'm on, that shit don't matter. Like, individually, that's a great individual accolade, right? But I am not intending on being James Harden. I am not going to be an amazing individual scorer and never win a championship. I am not going to be Allen Iverson. On certain areas, I fit that mold, cutting edge, being yourself. We all should strive in that way to be that Allen Iverson. However, you got to win a chip. And so for me, knowing that the chip is course correcting America and getting us back to constitutional and liberty principles, the ideas, whether you rock with the Constitution because it's a piece of paper or not, but those ideas are sound. And so in order to do that, we got to look at the team, what we have on our team. And this Team America, you got different political factions. And the libertarians have the answers. They've always had the answers. That's why the founding documents were in alignment with liberty. And they, by no stretch of the word, those founders would today, by today's standards, be defined as libertarians. And so you just got to go with what's going to help the team win. When a great individual player can buy into what the coach has a plan for. When Bill Belichick, tells Tom Brady, hey, if you do this and if you push yourself, we'll have a dynasty. And he does that, and he's a great quarterback, and there's a trickle down. When Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson shows up and says, if you guys buy into the triangle offense, you will have a dynasty. Michael Jordan buys in. And he shows those other players how to see the floor the way he sees the floor. Kobe Bryant, Phil Jackson again. Individual dominant player, buy into the triangle system, get players that would not necessarily be anywhere near the caliber of player that they wind up, winning. They wouldn't have done that on their own. And so the great scorer or the great leader sees where they could improve themselves and the team, helps the team, translates that information to the team, and they all buy in. When everybody buys in, you win fucking dynasties. The problem, though, and I say this to Angela and her team who did a great job, I say this to you guys every time I come to these spaces and just look around. I'm like, I'm in here, but I'm out of here. It gets harder every time you win. You don't get a fucking three-peat accidentally. Every single time, it will become more difficult. So every single time, more of your thought process has to be, I have to get my team involved. I have to dish the rock. I have to communicate. I have to hold each other accountable. I cannot miss practice. I have to be excelling in my game because the other teams, when you win, now you have their attention and they want your spot. And so sometimes it becomes more about, in the same internecine rivalries, it becomes more about not America winning, liberty winning, our faction winning, which is still competition, no doubt. But you got to understand that you are the person with the target on your back now from outside entities and people that want your life. And so I just challenge everybody that way, and so I show up, I lend energy, I find out areas that could help. I know that we've given away a ton of books. We've got Ron Paul on the table. We've got Jeff Deist on the table. We've got, obviously, Mises on the table, Rothbard. We don't have any more Anatomy of the State. So I don't know how many goddamn pens I done gave away. And so saying this to say, we are now exposing more people. I'm about to take some of this stuff here upstairs to the thousands of Trump supporters that are upstairs, and I'm going to give them Mises information. That's how we win. We are force multipliers. So that's the roundabout way of answering the question of why do I keep hanging around libertarians? Because libertarians can be great individual players, but they will not win a championship. We will not save America if there isn't somebody going, hey, look out for that. Hey, get grittier here. Hey, you going a little too aggressive here. And I feel as if I've earned the position, and I think the people that I do have their ear will listen to me because they see me putting the team before my individual whatevers. And so I think we'll win a championship that way. So, and I like the team I'm on.
We're practically neighbors. I live in Newcastle County, Delaware, which is like a suburb of Philadelphia.
Yep.
And we're libertarians, so we're constantly all going against the grain. But you are really, really going against the grain. You have a brick and mortar establishment in Philadelphia, and you're a black man.
Yeah.
There's like 4 black people in there today. You're learning valuable life skills at the Solutionary Center. I know that all the work that you do with guns and gun safety, but also, emergency. You're telling people how to do tourniquets and sewing classes, and like this is real life shit, man. And most of us just talk on the internet. There's a brick and mortar place that has free classes because people donate to your cause, and they can come learn this stuff.
I was talking to Ian Smith last night. Myself, Gerard, and him, and my guy Antoine. We were all up at the bar and grill upstairs, and we were talking about. For those of you that don't know, Ian Smith is a guy that at the time was, one of the founders or owners of Attila's Gym, and they pushed back against the governor of New Jersey 4 years ago, and all 80 of those charges and hundreds of thousands of dollars that were frozen had to be dropped, and their money had to go back. They had to do liberty in practice. This is government overreach. We're saying no.
In real time.
In real time. When all of the massive media outlets were saying, you're a granny killer. And so we laugh about it now, because as soon as I heard about it, the next day I drove over to Jersey and was like, I got to talk to this dude. And I got a membership there, and I was working out there. My point is, liberty has to be in practice. The founders wrote eloquently, and they pulled from, Robespierre and obviously, Bastiat and French Revolutionary dudes and, all of John Locke. They pulled from those dudes, and they were philosophers, but they were also fucking blacksmiths and fucking farmers, and you know what I'm saying? And like, the Constitution was a bunch of hood dudes in Philly writing the Constitution. You know what I mean? And so it got to be practice. And so the Solutionary Center is the practice. I hear you on the theory. And, and like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So you got to get outside and get punched in the face a little bit, so you can go, okay, that wasn't that bad. And you can punch people back in the face if need be, and you can avoid getting punched in the face if need be. And if you do get punched in the face, it's not that bad, and you keep moving forward. To do liberty just online, and I'm not saying that advocacy and talking and posting isn't a good thing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if that's your lane, you have to support the people that are also outside, physically in real life, because it's not everyone doesn't have to do each thing. But support those people. But understand that when it comes down to brass tacks, I cannot have a podcast and still move the needle for liberty. But we do not move the needle for liberty if only everyone has podcasts. It's just not how it goes. If we don't have delegates, we had a rumble here this year, and it's still a fight. I think the delegates got a little the silk sheets after winning the championship. You win the title, you the heavyweight champ now.
Rocky 3, man.
Yeah, you just try. And there is always a what's his name? Mr. T played him.
Clubber Lang.
There's always a Clubber Lang.
Dead meat.
And he's hungry, you know? And so if you forget that and you on your silk sheets, when you meet Clubber Lang, you will lose. You will lose. And so even down to getting outside and engaging and making sure that people see you, feel you, touch you, humbling yourself to do something as simple as, hey, I'm going to man this table. No one asked me to do this. No one paid me to man this table. I said, yo, I'm going to come up. I'm going to do this. First, I was like, yo, I'm not going. And I was like, I don't think y'all are going to need me. And they're like, no, you should show up. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was like, psych, I'm coming. And I show up here and we got our merch here, but it's also, it can't just be me selling this merch. I have to sell Mises Caucus t-shirts. Not because I was told to or because, I'm paid to do it. It's the brand. It's the team. And so those things keep you humble. No one gives a fuck that I did Candace Owens. No one gives a fuck that I'm on Fox whenever I feel like it. No one gives a fuck that... They might give a fuck when I get like $100 million. Then they'll be like, oh, shit, that's cool. But in the meantime, man, your self-worth has to be tied into how you value and view yourself. And I would feel like a piece of shit if I only came here and only sold merch. We have Blood of Tyrants wine and Tears of Tyrants
Little
wine.
Pinot Gris? All right, okay.
Got some Merlot over there. We got some, Liquid Freedom. My point in saying that is I didn't make that company. I didn't found that company. I know that Dan and those guys are working very hard to bring a product to mass on a massive scale to market that is in alignment with our liberty principles. So I have to pour wine for people when Angela McArdle wins, and let's celebrate with a glass of Blood of Tyrants wine, right? You have to do these things and be well-rounded to make sure that you're grounded in the reality of what happens in real life outside. If you are not grounded in that and you have some wins, Clubber Lang will show up and he will fuck you up. He will fuck you right up.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the brick and mortar, making sure that we're making ourselves accessible to people, making sure that we're growing, making sure that we're remaining, I don't want to say the word humble, because humble has a weird meaning, making sure that we're making ourselves accessible and consistent with the mission. Your false ego does not align with consistency of mission. That is mission priority, the fucking mission. And so your ego, as it's involved, anytime that false ego start kicking in that way, you are going to lose. If your convictions about your own are that solid, you should have no problem with those other people viewing it the way that they view it. I have no problem if I share anatomy of the state with a Democrat that their philosophy is going to change. They're not going to change mine. It's just not. This is superior information. Now, at a certain point, if they show me some superior information, I will align with that. But libertarians have the superior information. The execution, the translation, and the team building is where we leave some to be desired. And so if we start doing that, then we'll get those wins, and we'll get the chip. And that again, to bring it full circle, that's why I'm here.
Maj, I really appreciate your time and all your contributions, and you're the best, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I'm here with the homie Eric Brakey from the great free state, the Granite State of New Hampshire, who's currently leading the efforts of the Free State Project. How's your day going so far, brother?
It's been an awesome convention. I've never been to an LP national convention. I've been to plenty of Republican national conventions. My experience at those has been people trying to kick me out, and though it's been better, I guess, in recent years. But no, this has been awesome. Great to see a lot of great liberty-loving people from all across the country. Sometimes people you haven't seen in years, or people you've only met online, but all gathered here and focused on the same values and principles.
Good man, and I know you're waiting for your Uber. I'll help keep an eye out for that Kia too. Appreciate your time. But you mentioned, lots of great liberty-minded people here. You're working in the great state of New Hampshire, the Free State, and you guys are kind of, for 20 plus years now, leading the way on kind of the Republican Libertarian coalition efforts. And this year is kind of historic for us. Donald Trump was here. We had Thomas Massey here on Friday. What kind of advice would you give to the party as far as Vivek said, maybe integrating the libertarian and nationalist or conservative movement?
Well, I've certainly argued for a long time that, I had debates with Dave Smith about this years ago, that I've long argued the most effective strategy is to try to co-opt the institutions of the Republican Party and use that infrastructure as a vehicle to advance liberty, which of course is what I've been doing in the state of Maine for the last 10 years, ever since we took over the party in 2012 on the Ron Paul campaign, and really kind of planted the flag for liberty there, and which of course very much is happening in New Hampshire, where now Liberty Republicans are like a quarter of the legislature and doing all kinds of great stuff like school choice, pass and defend the guard, and many things there. So, but I recognize, every state is different, and what's possible in one state and one Republican Party may be different in different places. I think maybe I'm more open-minded these days to there being many different strategies that people want to try. But I would also say that there is something to be said. People are going to make their own individual choices, right? But there's something to be said for, I think, what Vivek Ramaswamy is arguing is that, there is within the America First movement, the MAGA movement, whatever you want to call it, there are a lot of people who I think are upset and angry with a lot of our same enemies, but they don't necessarily have the intellectual framework to propose, what we want to when we take down our enemies, what we want to replace it with. So we can come in and provide, the answer is liberty. The answer is these ideas of Ron Paul, and Murray Rothbard. I mean, these are populist ideas too. I think that for libertarianism to succeed, it has to be married with populism. Otherwise, we're always just going to be 3%.
Keep getting your 3% every 4 years.
Not channeling the legitimate anger of the people against the corrupt system. We're just going to be publishing white papers that sit on a shelf somewhere and no one ever reads.
Do you have a preferred candidate? Do you see the utility in maybe voting for Trump if he has a particular vice, or can you empathize with people who are interested in RFK as maybe a COVID referendum, or what do you think about that?
I mean, truth be told, myself personally, I'm undecided in the presidential race right now. I could see myself maybe voting for Trump. I could see myself maybe voting for RFK. I could see myself throwing my hands up in the air and discuss with both of them and voting for the LP candidate as a protest vote. I haven't decided yet, but I'm very interested. What do these folks want to bring to the table and offer to people who care about liberty? Right? I think it was interesting. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came in, and I think he tried to appeal to shared values. That he's not a libertarian, but there's some shared values and some shared ideas. I think that's valuable. I thought Trump was more transactional, right? He's like, well, the deep state's been coming after me. I guess that makes me a libertarian. I don't know that quite makes you a libertarian, Don. But he did come up with tangible policy objections or tangible policy demands that libertarians had. And he said, okay, you want Russ Ulbricht free? We can do that. We'll give you a cabinet position in the administration. We'll do that. We'll protect Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and self-custody and reject CBDCs. We'll do that. Those are good. Those are good things, but that's very much like Trump, right? It's like he's here he's here to try to make a deal, right? I want your votes. You guys want these things. Let's do it together. Now, I think most certainly libertarians here at the National Libertarian Party convention tend to be, more partisan than the liberty movement in general. So I think that he's not necessarily going to win over, I think, too many converts at the Libertarian Party convention itself, but I think the fact that he's making this argument and this proposal to libertarians across the country, whether they identify as Libertarian Party members or just with the broader philosophy, I think there will be some people who say that sounds like a good deal.
You seem very level, man. A lot of people in there are hyper polar opposites, oddly enough, but you seem very measured. It's probably some of the key to your success, I imagine. Talking about your success, heroic speeches from the Senate floor in Maine, and now you're leading the Free State Project, which I think is great. Convince people to leave the authoritarian 49, as our pal Dennis Pratt would say, and move up to New Hampshire.
Yeah, well, I think the arguments for it's pretty simple, right? As libertarians, there are millions of us across the country, but we're a diaspora, we're dispersed, we are maybe 1% to 3% of people in our communities wherever we are, so we are easily dismissed when it comes to both the politics and the culture in our states, right? We can change that, though, and the Free State Project is a concentration strategy. It's to say, You don't have to be 1 to 3%. Let's pick a state, let's pick a location, a place that already has an underlying respect for liberty and a culture of liberty, to live free or die state in New Hampshire, and let's concentrate there. And let's achieve the numbers that we need to have a real impact on the politics and the culture. And that's what's happening in New Hampshire. I mean, I'll tell you, not a single day in New Hampshire seems to go by without multiple liberty events going on somewhere. I would say there's one big liberty community, but that would be wrong. There are many liberty.
A decentralized liberty community up there?
A decentralized liberty community. There's something for everyone. If you love liberty, but you also love, I don't know, maybe you love knitting, right? There's a libertarian knitting group for you. Or you like rucking, or you like D&D, or you like survivalism, or you like agorism.
All kinds of white people activities.
You like basketball, there could be a libertarian, whatever you want to do. When you are in community with so many people, there's so many opportunities to build whatever kind of community you want to live in. And of course, we see in the legislature, right, the libertarians are taking over in New Hampshire. And that's the success of the concentration strategy 20 years in. Now, this is an intergenerational project, right? We still got further to go. We got many more miles to travel. I'm really appreciative of the warm welcome I've received as I'm transitioning over from Maine to New Hampshire. The community's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to build together. And you don't have to move up to New Hampshire, though we certainly encourage it. You can just come for a visit, stay for a week. Maybe you end up staying for a lifetime. Come to Pork Fest coming up next month. I think that's June 17th through the 23rd in Lancaster, New Hampshire. It's our family-friendly freedom festival. 2,000 of your favorite libertarians all on one campground, and we have great times. Great people and
so many drugs.
For those who like it, but some people do that, right? Hey, freedom.
Go see Eric Brakey at Pork Fest and live free or die. Sure. Drop hard horse, whatever you want. Smots does it all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I'm here with my pal, the founder of the Libertarian Party, Emo Caucus.
The founder of the Emo Caucus.
Number one, Stunner, in the building. Bro, how is your weekend going so far? I know you threw a huge bash last night. Afro Man was here, giving out 100 milligram gummies to everybody.
Apparently.
Because he got high.
Because I got high.
Is that your wife?
No, this is an alarm for no reason.
Oh, noted. It's time to wake up. There's orders of the day. But Afro Man came, brought the party out, and you raised like 3 G's for the party, bro. Yeah. Voluntarily, just because you're a good dude.
It was a good time. Like, Afro Man he killed it. Everybody kind of tried to bum rush the stage and see him afterwards, but he was kind of quick in and out. We did his 3 songs, and he's really cool though. He did Lemon Pound Cake, and The Police Knocked Over My Door. And what's the other one? Hunter Got High, of course, obviously. Hunter Got High!
Remix.
It was so good. Everyone had such a good time. And then the karaoke was a good time too. We had some emo in between the songs a little bit. Went way past our curfew, which is the sign of a good party. I'm looking forward to doing it again. And I also DJ'd the event on Friday night too, which was just a pretty good time. The Enemy of the State party was great. So,
bro, shout out to the Libertarian Party of New Jersey. Those guys know how to build community and have fun, like Ron Paul said. Maybe 6 weeks ago, Afro Man would have been the A-list celebrity at our convention, but this year was a little bit different. We have Donald Trump spoke last night. RFK Jr. just tried to seek the nomination. I feel like that will be soundly rejected, but we are garnering some attention from outside of the typical libertarian bubble. Do you think that's a positive thing, or should we stick to party members only?
No, man. The whole message of the Emo Caucus is we need to go find people where they're at and plant a seed of libertarianism and liberty. And a lot of these people, Dave Smith, killed it in his introduction speeches last night. And there was a lot of people, I wasn't there because I was setting up for the party. There's a lot of good feedback that I've seen coming around online. They loved what Dave Smith was saying. And, I think that, planting those seeds of liberty to people, that's how, you take the red pill, right? You go out there, you just talk to people about it, shoot the shit, and more often than not, people might agree with you on things, you know what I mean? And they don't have to agree with everything, but it's just a step-by-step process of breaking down that wall of what you were kind of socialized to believe, the system and all that stuff. I'm stoked that we're out there reaching new people. I think this is some of the best publicity we've ever had as a party, ever. Like, call it positive or bad, like, we're on, like, news. Every single news channel was here, right?
Google for free Ross was up like 10,000%.
On day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
He was trying to pander to libertarians, like he was saying, you know, like he wants to like free Ross, whatever, like, and like he's not gonna get any like staunch libertarian votes. Like that's not gonna happen. Like he was booed half the time. Like it was a good like kind of like you know, and we're not even like trying to coalition build with Republicans at all. We're not. Like this isn't what we're trying to do. But like getting our crowds together and at least getting our ideas in front of their people. That's huge, man. Like, and this is stuff we have to keep doing. This is why, like, we're going out there, like, you know, going to shows and talking to anti-authoritarian people with the emo caucus is because, like, they're not going to come looking for you. You got to go to them. You need to be able to speak their language. And I think that, like, Dave Smith is a great messenger. Like, last night was fantastic. I see it all pretty much as a net positive for sure. Like, I'm not, like, complaining. And props to Angela for getting all that done. And there's, like, a lot of backdoor stuff that happened. Don't know exactly who was talking to who for some of it, but, like, Angela's been great with all of that, so.
I'm so grateful she was reelected. She just deserves so much credit. The war rally and this great libertarian Comic-Con is enough. But obviously she has a lot more going for her than that. You are one of the true believers. So you moved from wherever you were living to the Free State, right? I just got done talking with Eric Brakey, who's running the Free State Project currently. How is the Granite State treating you, and what are you doing to change stuff up there?
I love it. I love New Hampshire. I was on the board last year for LPNH, and this year I'm kind of taking a different approach. I'm not on the board. I didn't get like elected or anything, but what I'm trying to do going forward is kind of do like more like local activism, like I did last year with the police gun buyback thing that we did. I did just get elected to Region 8 alternate, so I'm going to be helping Pat Ford out with doing a lot of that. It's just going to be like a teamwork thing. Like we want to work together, and wherever things are missing, what he's able to do, he's already stretched so thin. He goes everywhere. He drives to every state all the time and sees everybody. I want to fill that void and kind of like help, like I don't know, like do some like roundtables with our region, like coalition with these guys, like tell them like what legislation's going through, how we can help each other. Defend the Guard's huge in New England right now. It was just seen in Rhode Island. New Hampshire has it on the going before the Senate very soon. I believe Maine has been working on it as well. Maine's been doing great work. They just got like permanent party status up there, and Harrison Kemp is a really cool dude too. But like I just kind of want to go over there, like maybe do like some rallies, some events and stuff too. Just something to like, we want to give like them all the tools to succeed, right? Because like right now, like we can elect some people that like to our state chair or vice chair or whatever. And a lot of these people like are put into the position. Some of them don't know what they're doing, right? I want to make sure they have the training and the tools to succeed there. Maybe get some trainings back up and going, some Zoom calls. You know, just like make sure people are able to go out and have everything they need to find new members and like these new ideas, like going out and talking to people at things that are different, right? Like Trump was here, that's like very different. You know, like we can be going out to like, I don't know, even like gun shows, man. Like it's very like a Republican place, but like, you know, setting up tables there, like more often than not, they probably agree with us more than they agree with half the Republicans because they back the NRA. And most of the people that love guns hate the NRA because they help write all the gun legislation. Just shit like that, man. Like we just like, I want to help wherever I can, kind of fill those cracks. And in New Hampshire specifically, you know, I've put a lot of work in already. I'll consider running for something again in the future, but right now I want to focus on the LNC role. And I did just start in 2 weeks I'm announcing it officially, but you can have it early. I just launched a nonprofit, Punks for Liberty. Yes. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Bro, make punk rock punk again.
Once upon a time, the man hunted woolly mammoths. So, and now they're all vegans.
Listen, bro, you are one of the hardest workers that I'm seeing right now and one of the most creative, and I love that your focus is on avoiding all this chicanery and bureaucracy and procedure and directly going into the culture with flyers, DIY style, like how people used to get shit done all the time, and it looks effective, and you look like you're having fun doing it, bro. So to wrap up, man, just tell these people, where they can find you, where they should sign up, where they can help, and what they should be doing.
So we have a Facebook group, a Twitter page, and a Discord. So you can join any of those through any of those places. Just look up the Libertarian Party Emo Caucus. On that, we pretty much just call it a street team. A lot of caucuses have like state organizers, and they'll branch off of that. This is a street team because we really are like promoting the street activism, going out and actually trying to make a difference. We really want to go out and like go to concerts and go to festivals. I know in New Hampshire we have a solid group of like 12 to 15 people. We'll go out to concerts and we just kind of hang out, and afterwards we'll just talk to people, random people. They'll come to us, they'll see our shirts or something, like want to have a conversation. I'm going to try to get some of that going in other states too, because there's a lot of support like in Texas and Florida and all these other places too, Michigan. So like trying to amp that up. Definitely check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And you can check me out on Twitter too, the Emo ANCAP. I'm staying busy on there too. So
follow the Emo ANCAP. And you're getting married and having a baby, is that right?
I am having a baby. I'm having a baby boy.
Did I just make that up about the marriage thing?
I am engaged.
You are engaged. Okay, so I was right. Thank God I didn't jump the gun on that one. I would have totally screwed you on that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely engaged for sure. Beautiful, beautiful woman. It's gonna be awesome, man.
Everything's coming up aces for you right now.
I know, man. Beat cancer. Thought life was gonna stop being crazy. Then they're like, "Fuck you, dude. You're having a baby."
I'm so happy for you, bro.
Me too, man. Me too.
Thank you, Ben.
Appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Dave versus Goliath. Back at the LNC 2024 convention, hanging out with my good friend Josh. We've been beefing for the last couple months because politics is a motherfucker, but we made up. I did say to you in the beginning of this, I said, I'll see you at the end of this, bro.
Yeah, you knew I'd go. There's a lot of people that were like, you won't even make it to the convention and this and that. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, you idiots. Yeah. Like, of course I'm going to go to the convention. And of course I'm going to run a campaign. It's like, these people, like, did you just not watch me run a national campaign since literally 2017 straight through? I mean, of course I was going to go. But, you know me better than that. So.
And something I always applauded you for was the way that you could parlay energy into something else. I said that when you started your podcast. Okay, cool, you're done with this thing, and I'm going to channel it into here. So, okay, natural progression, run for president. Look at Austin Peterson. That guy ran for president. Now he can talk shit about the party all he wants, and then he has the platform we provided for him. So
yeah, well, and he's got some really bad takes on things. Austin's been a friend of mine for many years. I mean, since like 2016, he's been a friend of mine, and we disagree vehemently on, obviously, the foreign policy of Americans. But yeah, I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? I've been to his house. I've stayed at his dad's house in Missouri on the farm. I mean, they have like an old slave plantation or whatever. It's really
oh, who didn't know that?
But I think, I've met a ton of people in this movement that I disagree with things on. Like you and I, right now, we disagree on who should be the nominee for president. That doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be your friend.
You're in my top 2, bro. What do you want from me?
Yeah, well, I think that at some point, anybody who votes tomorrow has got to ask themselves who they really want to see in front of the cameras. And I think that that's the most important thing here, right?
The cameras, who you want to see in front of the cameras is the most important?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a 50-state media tour. Okay, we got to go out and sell our ideas and the party to the public, right? And most of these people are normies, and we want to win. Not win we're not going to win the presidency in 2024, and I freely say that, but we want to win on these ideas. Yep. We want to push people towards our party. Mm-hmm. We want to get 50-state ballot access so that in 2028 we've set a stage for someone like a Dave Smith to run. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We have to entice better candidates, and I obviously think that I'm the best person to go out and do that.
You are full of confidence and panache, and that is, I will admit, in politics, will get you far.
Yeah, but there's another side of that too, right? I mean, I've met thousands and thousands of people in politics, and outside of the Libertarian Party, 99% of the people I've met have no integrity. They're terrible human beings. They're like serial adulterers and drug addicts, and they're in Congress. Okay, these are people that I've met.
Blackmail is currency. That's why they get those people.
And so like we have the unique opportunity to be like the people that are full of integrity, that say the same things. I mean, it's like the Ron Paul condition, right? He sat there for 25 years and said the same things over and over and over again. He didn't change his stance. He was right. It was true because he was saying the truth. And I think that, that's something that, I have some maybe you'd call an ego. I just say confidence like you did. But I also have integrity, and I'm telling the truth, and I'm trying to do the right thing because I think it's the right thing, not because I want a political expedience, right? And I think that that's important. I think that's the most important thing.
All right, that's a pretty good answer. I know you'd say Clint would be your preferred vice presidential candidate, but if that isn't in the cards, who would you prefer to be the guy that you would do this with if you were to get the nomination?
Oh, boy. The current field, for presidents, there's a couple guys. I mean, I'd run with Rec. I'd be happy to run with Rec, I think we probably align on 95% of the issues.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and, I know you don't like him very much, but
Actually, we've been beefing all
I'm
day.
not talking about Rec. I'm talking about Mike Termott, who is a good friend of mine. And,
Freeze!
I know he's a cop, and he boasted about washing your hands and taking the COVID vaccine. But I think his heart's in the right place. He's been over to my house, had dinner with my kids and stuff. I like him a lot.
That's the problem. Once you let the vampire into your house.
I know.
Were you rubbed a little bit the wrong way when he was talking about all the great activism he did as a COVID cop today?
Yeah, not nearly as bad as I was with Charles Belay, who
that guy deserved the
candidly,
raking.
fuck that guy. He's lucky I didn't slap him in his bald spot. But here's the thing, yes, I wasn't happy about that. I'm sure that the bad that he did as a cop probably outweighs the COVID activism he did while he was a cop. There's a lot of very unconstitutional laws that cops absolutely enforce, and he's got to atone for those things. As I had to atone for taking part in Operation Iraqi Freedom and being a part of the shock and awe campaign that killed hundreds of thousands of, well, not that specific campaign didn't kill that many, but the Iraq War did.
Yeah.
But we dropped 100 million tons of ordnance on Baghdad, and I was a big part of that. I was just fueling and defueling the jets, but they were the jets carrying the bombs. And I came home and I had to atone for that, and I've spent, more than almost 2 decades fighting for anti-war.
And I'll give you that. And I would say this to anybody who is currently a cop and is thinking about running for office. It's not that you can't be a cop. It's that you must go on a certain amount of time of an apology tour
You have to atone. You have to atone for those things. If you've spent any amount of time enforcing unconstitutional edicts from state government, you absolutely have to atone for that.
Let's talk about ballet for a second. He blocked me on Twitter the
I'd be
other day
happy to.
because I told him the only endorsement he would get would be from Pfizer, and he immediately, you're out of here. So what do you think about that guy? How did he get here?
I think Pfizer sent him. I said it in the debate. I said this guy got sent here by Pfizer. Look, do you want to know? Obviously, you and I share a conspiratorial brain. This is something that I love and you love, and we could talk about conspiracies all day. I put out the COVID video. 1 week later, Charles Belay was in the race. That COVID video had more than 1 million views, okay? And all of a sudden we have this guy stumping for the COVID regime in the race for president, running up against me, coming to the debate to debate me in Pennsylvania. Is it a coincidence? Sure, it could be, I guess. What's more likely is they saw that getting some traction and they sent a guy in. We did some deep dives on Charles Belay. He's got all this money, but he only has 4 donors on the FTC report.
Like Reason.
Yes, exactly. Definitely someone's funding this guy. Someone's bankrolling him to be here. Unfortunately, these people that send in ops like this are so stupid that they always send the absolute worst person they possibly could.
He's a rube, isn't he?
He can't speak well. He went up there and, he got booed 8 times. I only got booed once, and I knew I was going to get booed. In fact, I looked over at Mike Termott and said, watch this, they're going to boo me. So, I knew he would get booed, and I think we said that last night. This guy dropped over $30,000 of his own money to get into that debate. He bought a podium and then spent 5 hours trying to get 30 signatures. Right. I don't know if he even ever got his 30 signatures.
And there's 5 guys up there that have a real possibility of doing it, a real gamble that 5 of them could have a real shot.
Yep.
He knows full well there is zero chance.
Zero.
Zero chance.
Chance.
But I'm going to drop 30 grand. You know who's got 30 grand?
Pfizer. I talked to D. Frank Robinson sometime. He's one of the founders of the party. And I've talked to a lot of guys that have been around this party since the 70s. And I had one gentleman who is a great guy. I can't remember his name now, but he'd been around since the 70s. And he said, look, for every 100 people you meet in the Libertarian Party, one of them is there to cause chaos. And not just like Libertarian operative causing chaos, like sent from the outside to cause chaos. He's like, it's been like this since the 70s. He said when we were just a couple thousand people nationwide, they were sending people in. But this is what they do. I mean, look at the FBI just infiltrated Catholic schools or Catholic groups, right? They infiltrated PTA meetings and called soccer moms domestic terrorists for being worried about their kids' health. You think they're not coming in and trying to infiltrate the third largest, fastest growing political party in the United States? Absolutely they are.
Tasked with taking the government out of commission.
But what they didn't foresee is that this is a party full of autists. And we don't care what they say. We will boo you on stage, as Trump will probably get booed here shortly.
A far less friendly reception than Trump typically sees at his own rallies. The crowd at the Libertarian National Convention booing the former president.
So we mentioned my top 3 candidates. That would be Rec, obviously, you, and Toad. And it's dawned on me that the only candidates that I would tolerate this year are unvaccinated,
yes.
which isn't the reason, though it's great, and I'm happy for you and your families that you're not going to call it one soon. But why is it that the policies that I approve of with you 3 guys overlap with the vax status of our candidates?
Well, it's a happy coincidence, right? I mean, 3 of us really rallied against the COVID regime. That means we probably align with you on a lot more issues than the people who didn't rally against the COVID regime, right? You've known me through the whole COVID regime, literally from the beginning to now. And you probably could have called prior to the COVID regime that if something happened like that I would have spoke out against it. Now, Rec, I didn't know Rec until maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago when he came on my radar, and he was very good at protesting the woke mob. I didn't know anything about his COVID activism at all. But I've known Toad for as long as COVID's been around, and I knew he was another one. He's going to speak out against COVID. In fact, he essentially put his entire job on the line for the COVID regime to stay home and not get vaxxed, and I did as well. I organized my shop to do the walkout, and they ended the mandate at our job. I worked with the State House in Iowa to get the mask mandate banned, to get Kim Reynolds to tell businesses that if they want to operate in the state of Iowa, they couldn't require the vaccine. I worked with Jeff Shipley, Senator Carlin, all kinds of great legislators at the State House there, and Informed Choice Iowa, which my wife helped found, the medical healthcare freedom group. But it's just like, the people that spoke out against COVID are going to be the people that agree with you on things, because they're the people that are disconnected from the propaganda already, right? And it's our job, it's incumbent on us to go out and wake the rest of the people up, right? We talk a lot about reaching the Ron Paul remnant, but we need to reach the remnant of the people that actually have that opportunity to wake up. And who better to do it than somebody who's fought the COVID regime already?
Let's talk about the other elephant in the room, or the independent in the room. RFK Jr. is here. We saw him speak yesterday. We're in a room full of people that enjoy a protest vote. So there's going to be a big protest vote this year for a guy who was really good on the COVID regime. Do you think there's any, if it's not you and it's not Rec and it's not Toad, is there any reason to vote for that guy?
No. and let me explain to you why. I feel like as a collective unit here, the Libertarians are just finding out who the hell the Kennedys are. Okay, I've known about the Kennedys my whole life. He was shot, his uncle shot when my mom was like 10 years old. And these people have been in the public eye since the 60s and 50s, right? They're the absolute epitome of coastal, rich elite privilege. And there's
literally a street named after his family right over there.
In every city, there's a Kennedy Street, okay? And these people, he's so wishy-washy and back and forth on everything. This guy's talked about bailing the housing crisis out with government-backed bonds. He's talked about ending the Second Amendment. He's talked about...
so I know he's not a libertarian, but my point being that...
My point here.
Okay.
He's talked about pulling businesses out of the market that don't go along with the climate agenda. No, there's no reason to vote for somebody who's got policies that are actually even worse than some of the Democrat policies and worse than some of the Republican policies. It's absolutely asinine to think that the protest vote to that guy is a protest vote. It's not.
Well, don't you think the people that are voting for him at least see a problem with the two major party system, and that's about as deep as they go, but that's still pretty good for millions and millions of voters?
Sure, if you can lie to yourself and actually convince yourself that he's not just a run-of-the-mill progressive Democrat. But he is.
Well, he's not going to win, though. But you
He's
could
not
make
close to win.
No, 8-10%.
He's not going to be on the ballot. He won't get that much. He won't be on the ballot in 10 states, dude.
I think he might get 8 or 10%.
I think that's huge for Bobby Kennedy. I think he'd be lucky to get 7, 6.
Okay. All right. You heard it, dude. Kennedy, sorry about your luck, bro. I talked to Holden over there. He's pumped up, but he's like 20 years old. So
He's 20
I
years
voted for
old.
Nader once.
Yeah, well, there was a time when I was like, hey, that Reform Party looks pretty good.
Let's reform the shit out of this
Let's
thing.
reform this thing. Yeah, absolutely. I also was a George Bush supporter. When I was at war.
He atoned, okay?
Yeah,
he fucking atoned. He spent the time.
I was never a John McCain supporter, if that makes you feel better.
I talked to a guy earlier who voted for him.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's terrible. No, and George Bush is actually what pushed me towards libertarianism. I mean, Ron Paul's the one that taught me about it, but George Bush is the one that
Triggered
drove
you?
me, drove me out.
Vivek was saying last night, we need a nationalist/libertarian alliance to coalesce and make things happen, and you guys should be involved in that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I know that there's a lot of people that like those two things don't go together. Of course, I obviously believe that there is some room and some overlap there. And when we talk about libertarianism, we're not always talking about anarchism, right? I think that anarchism is a libertarian's north star, and in my heart of hearts, I'm a great ANCAP. But I also believe that if we're going to run to govern a nation, as I said in the debate, we absolutely have to remember that these people want a sovereign nation. They want national defense, at least. A lot of these people are war hawks, but I don't care about them. I do care about the people that want their nation safe. A lot of these people want a government, and we're running to be the libertarian government, basically, right? And so we kind of have to remember that we're not all anarchists, and some people do love their nation and do want a sovereign nation, and we can lead a sovereign nation in a very libertarian way, reducing taxes, reducing the regulatory agencies, relinquishing some power, cutting 75% of the administrative state. I mean, there's really things that we can do that are very libertarian and also love your nation. And so I don't see why that's a problem. Now, I don't think those things are ever going to come from the Republican Party. Vivek is young, ideological.
You think he believes they're bullshit, or he's helping spin it?
Kind of a zealot about things, but I don't know. I can't get a great beat on him. He's a great salesman, a great salesman. But he was pumping the COVID regime in the beginning too, right? This guy very clearly was like for the mask mandates and the vaccine and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden was against it. So, he's to me, he's another Bobby Kennedy on the right? He's a very wishy-washy guy who's changed his policy repeatedly over and over again, and has come to a realization that libertarianism, the sentiment of libertarianism, is a growing thing in the world, not just here. You look at Venezuela and other places in South America that are starting to get tired of these socialist policies and realize, this stuff doesn't work forever. These people are going to eventually rise up and do something different. And so they're taking advantage of that. It's kind of a populist strategy, but it's a populist lying strategy, not like a populist truthful strategy like I use. So,
Heard that, man. You mentioned, you're a great ANCAP, and it's a good North Star to have. But I'll be honest with you, man, I can get down with the Spoonerites, and I can bro down with the Constitutionalists. But when you talk about the culture is the thing that matters, it's not the Second Amendment that is strong here and protects you. It's the culture of gun ownership, and public opinion behind that is so strong. So to both of them, I would say public opinion is the only thing that matters, and the North Star that we can use and exploit is the Bill of Rights. People will love that shit.
Yes, and I agree with that. I have very little faith that the Constitution will ever limit the government the way that it's supposed to. I've talked about that repeatedly. But if we could get back to the Bill of Rights, I don't think anybody's going to complain about it. And you're right. The culture of gun ownership in the United States is what keeps our rights. Truthfully, absolutely 100%. Yeah. It's not the Constitution. It's the fact that people here love our guns.
We love that shit
here.
We
love our shit. And that's when I say that politics is downstream from culture and people start arguing with me, that's an issue you can point to and say, you sure? Are you sure of that? Because that culture, that gun culture, is what's keeping us from being Australia.
And you could extrapolate that beyond guns. You mentioned Australia. Some of these crowned countries were the worst shitholes on the planet during COVID, but not America wasn't as. I mean, it sucked. I fucking hated it. But it wasn't New Zealand, and it wasn't Europe and Canada.
No, absolutely not. And I'm a big proponent of turning Australia back into a penal colony and sending all of our child molesters there.
Bro, he's got big plans for as soon as he's in the Oval Office. Bro, anything else you want to tell these people before we get on out of here? Go see Trump?
Yeah, I'm not going to go see Trump. I was thinking about it. I've waited
Protesting.
out. I'm probably not going to go. I'm probably going to go eat some dinner and let all the libertarians enjoy it. Because if I go in there, I'm going to yell. I'm like, what about the federal red flag laws? What about the bump stock ban? What about never pardoning Julian Assange or Edward Snowden or Ross Ulbricht? Or how about the fact that you said you'd end wars and you didn't end a single war? And in fact, you expanded Syria. It's like at some point we got to let the guy know that he's got to either stop kissing the wall with the tiny hat on and go do the things you said you'd do or get the fuck out. But I look at it this way. Libertarianism is a growing sentiment in the United States. It's a growing sentiment all around the world. People are fed up with the constant oppression Olympics that's going on all over the world. We can win. We will win.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
We are winning.
Bro, I appreciate the chat with you, man. Thank you so
I love
much.
you to death. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And she's going to cut your balls off when you get home.
She said, I'm almost 50. Fuck no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love my wife.
Did I just catch Valerie's going to cut your balls off when you get home?
No, she is not.
Okay. Balls are intact. Nick, I honestly can't believe we're having this conversation right now. I do appreciate your time. Well, you have me blocked on Twitter.
Yes, but I don't have you blocked in real life.
That's how. Well, I figured.
I'm very easy to talk to in real life. I'm just Twitter has become kind of a cesspool since Musk took over. So my block finger, since I'm not a party official, has gotten super twitchy. But I will tell you, I have unblocked at least 2 Mises Caucus members who came up to me and said, I've never been mean to you. You might have been hasty. Will you unblock me? And I was like, sure. If you're man enough to come ask me in person, whatever. But I did tell him, if you're shitty again, I'll totally block you again.
Fair warning. Was there any attempt at an assault at this convention?
I feel.
I hope there's a fucking camera.
Hey.
You just walked right into
He just threw his shoulder into me. Sir, stop.
This dude has unauthorized recording, and Steve Michaela is Walk away, Rat. Walk away, Fed. Mr. Chair, let me move to a microphone with security. I requested, as a member of this body, to not be physically assaulted at this event.
Who can say where the road goes?
No, nobody seemed like they were too salty. There were a few people that gave me the stink eye.
I saw you gave somebody the finger.
I did. 3 Mises Caucus members, after some vote that we didn't win, I think it was McCardle's win for chair, they came up and they did a weird circle around me with their cell phone cameras, taking pictures from every angle and like literally dancing around me, almost like a maypole or some sort of weird pagan ritual, while I was talking to a Washington Post reporter. And yes,
when the mainstream media comes knocking, you got to push those guys aside.
What I did was I broke my cool, and I did give Gentleman, I think, from Minnesota, I gave him the finger, and then he posted it, and there's a bunch of people captioning, and there's all sorts of memes and whatever. Sure. And then I asked the reporter after he left, I was like, I'm sorry that happened. Has that ever happened to you before? And she said, I cover Congress, and Congress people get that same thing where there are weirdos who just come up and like try and accost them, and you just kind of stand there and wait for it to be over. Much like this convention.
How do you feel about the end result? You got to feel great, right? Does this mean that the racists have been banished from the party?
No, I think this hasn't been an entirely successful convention. Obviously, a couple of officers that I would prefer not to get elected got elected. I don't know what the results are of the at-large vote. The presidential was what I wanted. It's a mixed bag. It's definitely way the fuck better than Reno. Like, everything here is way the fuck better than Reno. And, you know, I've been fighting for 2 years and 3 days, not just 3 days. So there's a little bit of a relief. What I think it clearly told us, and I'm glad that we went to that final ballot where it's Chase versus Noda, is there's a clear number of people in the party that want there to be a Libertarian candidate in the 2024 election, and people who do not want us to be in Donald Trump's way in the 2024 election.
Wouldn't you say if our candidate tends to bend left, like Chase does, that he will pull from the left and not from Trump? Wouldn't he help Trump the most?
I don't know. But what I do know is that in 2016, second choice Libertarian voters went for Trump, which is why Trump won over Clinton. Bill Weld's gambit backfired, which is kind of its own punishment. In 2020, Libertarian voters' second choice went to Biden, and Biden won. So it's totally natural.
Totally fair elections that were fine and...
They happened, they're over. What that means, and it makes sense, that in 2022, the Trump camp or the Trump orbit would want to make sure the Libertarian Party was not going to push votes to Biden and was going to push votes to Trump. So that's why there was a lot of outside money in 22 to try and get a sympathetic board.
Well, could I ask, though, have you met with Steve Bannon?
No.
Right, I'm not trying to make big claims, just little claims. I get that. I get why Trump came and tried to get our votes. I get why RFK came to try and get our votes. Because the Libertarians in the last decade or so, we have been pivotal, at least in the swing states. Our voters, if they don't vote for the LP candidate, who they vote for next determines who wins. And that's not nothing. That last vote, that 60-40 or whatever the hell it was, it's been a long day. 60-40-ish. That says about 60% of the party wants there to be a candidate, even if it's not their candidate, right? Even if it's not their person. And about 40% thinks it would be better for us to sit it out and let Biden and Trump and Kennedy just duke it out without us participating. And
They might think that representative would be worse than having nothing.
That could be a reason. I'm just saying that's the split. So it's not over, right? There's still an active Mises Caucus contingent within the party. It is not a unified Libertarian.
Are we destined to do this dance forever?
I don't know. We are destined to constantly, every 2 years, have a pointed and heated argument over where we should position ourselves in American politics. Should we be to the right? Should we be to the left? Should we be helping Republicans or hurting them? Should we be helping Democrats or hurting them? We're going to have those fights every 2 years forever. We've had them every 2 years for 53 years now. It's not ever going to stop because we are a real fucking political party. We are not going away. We are not the Reform Party, the Forward Party, Americans Elect, George Wallace and the racists. We're not any of those people. This is the future of American politics. The Libertarian Party, I believe in my lifetime, will be one of the 2 largest parties in the United States. The question remains, which of the old ones dies first? And I don't know.
Why do you want the Republican Party to die first?
Oh, because Donald Trump's a shithead.
Is he worse than Joe Biden to you?
Yes.
For what reasons?
Because of the rule of law. So I'm a lawyer. Our new vice chair of the party is a lawyer.
All the congressmen and all the bureaucrats all come from lawyers.
One of the things that makes America different from other countries that are more authoritarian is we have what's called the rule of law. And not everybody understands it, so I'll explain it for your listeners. The rule of law means that if you're a poor homeless dude and you go steal a car, or you're Donald Trump and you steal a car, the prosecutor still prosecutes you, the jury still convicts you, and you still go to prison. You don't get a pass because you're special, you're part of the right party.
I know that you know that this is bullshit.
It's not perfect. I've been a public defender for a long time. I'm well aware that the system is not fair, but the rule of law is the ideal to which we aspire, right? This is like Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, if you recall that. Douglass would say, the Constitution says this is what America should be, Douglas's fight was to make America live up to its own vision of itself, right? We're not there yet, but Donald Trump wants us to bring us away from there because he wants special privileges. The latest thing, just to give a tiny example, but it really explains the ethos of the strongman, is Trump supporters are offended that FBI agents were armed when they executed a search warrant on his property in Mar-a-Lago. I have family members who are FBI agents. I know a lot of FBI agents. I am not aware of any time that an FBI agent has gone to execute a search warrant without carrying a gun. Shit, I don't go a lot of places.
Always lethal force is authorized. Why would not? I tend to agree with that, actually.
And they're law enforcement officers, and they're allowed to carry guns, so they carry guns whenever they can carry guns. And they had guns on them when they executed warrants on Biden for his classified document, whatever. The difference being he cooperated. But they had guns, even though he's currently president, has Secret Service protection. But what it bespeaks is the whole strongman ethos is about this guy's so special, the rules don't apply to him. And the rule of law is the assertion that that's not how it works here.
Was it the rule of law when the intelligence agencies conspired against him with the Clinton campaign to create Russiagate? I mean, you know that is absolute bullshit.
Donald Trump, as President of the United States of America, was framed for treason by his own deep state. And those people belong in jail.
Framed for treason. They tried to invoke the 25th Amendment, which, if you're going to do that to one of these two presidents, come on, let's be honest, man, who's further gone?
Assuming for the answer that all this stuff that you say was done against Trump was done, right? Assuming.
So but do you believe Russiagate was legit or fabricated?
No, I'm going to assume for the answer that it was fabricated, right? Assuming it was fabricated, that is not the rule of law. That would be lawless. But despite the fact that there are lawless actions by the government, like you go back to like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment or various other bad things the government's done, of which there are a panoply over American history, those are not the rule of law. Those are violations of the law. It's kind of like you have a right to free speech, but governments often violate that constitutional right in this country. And that's why you have to go sue about it, because they didn't do the thing they were supposed to do. If the intelligence agencies did something they weren't supposed to do, that's not the rule of law. That is people abusing their power to put their thumb on the scale, to push a campaign or an election in a direction they want.
But how is he not a victim then?
He might be a victim of that. I don't know. But what I'm saying is,
it's very lawyerly.
Aspirationally, America is about everybody plays by the same rules.
This is very quaint, and I would love it if it were that way.
We don't live in a perfect system. We live in a system that is the least imperfect we've figured out how to make it so far, and we continue to advocate for criminal justice reforms to make it even less imperfect, right? America is not a pendulum back and forth. It's a spiral, twirling and twirling ever towards freedom. So we go a little bit towards the bad and then a little bit towards the good, but we always...
You think we're moving towards freedom?
I do. I think that the American experiment from the founding, in which black people were 3/5 of a person for census counting, in which there could be state religion in the states, the Bill of Rights was not incorporated against the states, there was a lot less freedom at the beginning, and there's been a lot more freedom over time. But there have also been these very retrograde backwards movements like Jim Crow in the South or the Civil War and slavery, right? We've had to fight through it. And then after we fight through it, there's a good time. And then there's a backlash where the people that we fought were like, no, we're coming back. And we have to go back and forth and back and forth. And much like the LNC every 2 years, we have to fight for what the vision is. Every election we have in America, every time we go to a town meeting, we go to talk to the city council, we go to testify at the state legislature to try and get weed legal, we are fighting for the vision of a country we want against people who would have us have less freedom. That's why I do this. That's why I've been doing this for 25 fucking years. is because I believe that this country could be even better than it is, and I don't think it would be right for me not to try to make it better, even though there's a lot of shit stacked against us. There's a lot.
I want to take you at your word for a minute that you really want to make this better.
Okay.
And I want to ask you. Well, I'll tell you.
Call me a liar during the interview.
I'll tell you. Well, I'll ask you.
Taking me my word.
So,
you
hell, Nick Sarwark wants to make the world a better place. Do you have any regrets about 7 years or so ago calling Ron Paul and the Mises Institute guys racist? Like, man, you really inspired. I wouldn't have even participated in this at all. I would have left you alone. I had no idea what you guys were even up to here. But you really inspired me to join the party because I was like, wait a second. This guy's I never heard your name, dude. This guy is the head of this party, but it's Libertarian Party. This was mind-boggling to me at the time. So it was an inspiration for me to put in a lot of work and to do the takeover and all this back and forth. And I just want do you regret maybe being so vocal about that? Because I probably wouldn't be here. Heist probably wouldn't be here if you would have just maybe like left that be. Do you want to say sorry, or like, do you want to reach out with an olive branch, or just go, hey man, this is a new time and we can start something new, or do you just want to say fuck those guys? Because whatever you want.
So I think about this a lot because to use a different example, to answer the question a politician-y way, because that's what I do, I took a giant pay cut when I started as a public defender after I got out of law school. I used to be a computer science guy, doing IT, federal government contractor in D.C., making a lot of money.
Hashtag WikiLeaks?
No, just I worked for DOD through subcontractors like every other damn person that lives in the D.C. area. I did undergrad in D.C., so...
How many places have you lived in the past 10 years, bro?
Phoenix, New Hampshire.
If you're a Fed, you have to tell me.
I don't.
I did know that. Only a Fed would know that.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't make a lot of money when I was a public defender. Like, I made less than half of what I used to make. We struggled a lot when we lived in Colorado, and we started having kids, and it's even more of a struggle. And I thought sometimes, like, would it have been better if I wasn't inspired by IJ fighting against Donald Trump to save Vera Koking's house, to go to law school, change careers after 10 years, 13 years, whatever it was, and do something different because I believed in my heart that the idea that libertarians could use the law to fight people who were using the government to steal from people was enough of a reason to change careers? I made jack shit for money. But then I thought to myself, if I hadn't taken that pay cut, if I hadn't done all that trial work trying to keep poor people out of cages, I would have not gotten over my natural introversion, right? My dislike of having to speak in public. And I wouldn't have been able to become chair in 2014. And I would have been able to help Gary Johnson do the thing. So I couldn't have had the good stuff I had without the bad stuff I had. And so we couldn't have had a win like tonight without the backlash from the creation of the Mises Caucus, right? Do I understand that me being critical of Ron Paul and Tom Woods is the reason that there was so much backlash? I totally get it. And
But do you regret it?
I don't really have regret.
That's my credo. No regrets.
I wish that the path wasn't as long, as painful as it was for me, for you, for everybody. Like, I wish we didn't have to go through this. I wish we could have all talked it out over a beer or smoked some weed or whatever. But we're where we are. You know, I could have been probably nicer about stuff. I could have been more understanding about how people would feel about it. I could have realized that while I think about it in terms of policies, right? So Ron Paul is wrong on, say, gay marriage, abortion, and immigration, which he is. Not libertarian on those issues.
I disagree.
But I could have not said that in those interviews. I could have...
No, you could have said that. You just didn't have to call him a racist.
I never called Ron Paul racist. You can't find that anywhere. It didn't exist.
All the guys at the Mises Institute?
No. I want to be very clear about what I said. And you can find the original tweet. I've never deleted it. Have you ever seen the Simpsons episode where they have the Fox News helicopter? Mm-hmm. Do you know what it says on the bottom under the Fox News logo? Come on, you got to know the Simpsons. We're twirling towards freedom. You got to know the Simpsons. All right, now that I've demonstrated my superior Simpsons knowledge, it said on the bottom, not racist, but number one with racists.
That's right.
That's what I said about the Mises Institute. It's not.
You just dog whistled the shit out of that.
I said that it's not that the Mises Institute is racist. I know.
So Lou Rockwell is not a racist.
Lou Rockwell has a lot of problems. Lou Rockwell.
Mighty Ducks. Go read the review.
Lou Rockwell is not a person I would invite to dinner at my house. Ron Paul, I was very happy to shake his hand at a Mises event that somebody had invited me to as their guest. I actually changed my registration to Republican in 2008 to vote for him in the Maryland primary. It's the only time I have voted for a Republican twice, and both times they have been life members of the Libertarian Party. Do you know what the 2 times are? 2008 in the Republican primary in Maryland, and they changed my registration right back after I did it. 2020 in the Republican primary in New Hampshire, and I changed my registration right back right after I did it for Bill Weld, another life member of the Libertarian Party who is also a Republican.
Why is it that some Republicans are okay and some Republicans are absolutely toxic to you?
I think it depends on where their heart is.
Dave says a question for both candidates. Who better represents your values, Chase Oliver or Vivek Ramaswamy?
Hold on.
Wowzers.
First of all, I got to figure out a way to get both those guys in my brain at the same time in a way that I'll be able to extract them soon. I have to be honest. I'm going to go with Chase.
Nah.